Here is a company. Let's call it number 4. One of the employees here wears many hats. Apart from handling HR, she's also a tutor, a chef, an accountant, and a special events coordinator, among many other things. She works 15-hour days, never takes leave, and the company cannot function without her. Now, her total CTC from here is a whopping nothing.
अच्छा हुआ तुम आ गई, हमें तो लगा नहीं आओगी।
अरे कैसे नहीं आएंगी भाभी? और वैसे भी घर में रहकर करती क्या? यहाँ रहेंगे तो कम से कम आपका हाथ बटा देंगे किचन में, है कि नहीं?
A homemaker is the person who stays home to ensure that a household runs and everyone in the family has their daily needs taken care of. Overwhelmingly, this role is played by women. In fact, the more commonly used term for homemaker is housewife. Historians trace back the origin of this role to the sexual division of labor that occurred with industrialization in Europe in the 19th century. Because women were not paid as much as their husbands for the same jobs, when men left for work towards the cities, women were left to manage the house and fulfill domestic duties. Over the years, this gender division of labor was glorified, and being a housewife to a wealthy man even became an aspiration. Be it the housewife's friend or the lady's home journal, entire magazines were dedicated to how women can become better housewives and make their husbands happy. It was in the 1960s that second wave feminists like Betty Friedan began to criticize the glorification of homemaking and the ways in which it enables the oppression of women. But it was in 1972 that Italian working class activists began demanding wages for homemakers as part of the International Wages for Housework campaign. In 1999, Venezuela became the first country to constitutionally recognize the socio-economic value of housework and specifically ensure social security for homemakers. Within India, Kamal Hassan's MNM party announced salaries for homemakers as a poll promise in the Tamil Nadu elections, but the party did not win the elections. So, why exactly do people argue homemakers deserve a salary? Well, at the most basic level, the demand for a salary comes from the need to recognize that homemakers' unpaid work at home directly enables paid work outside the home. It is economically valuable work which homemakers deserve to be compensated for. And the lack of this compensation makes homemakers dependent on other family members for basic sustenance, and it also allows societies and family members to discount their work as not real work.
तुम्हें ब्रेक चाहिए?
क्यों मैं ब्रेक नहीं ले सकती?
नहीं मतलब तुम काम तो ना करती हो, घर पे तो रहती हो सारा दिन।
हाँ तो घर पे रहने से ब्रेक चाहिए मुझे।
At another level, the state paying a salary to homemakers also ensures that women are empowered within their households, because in the absence of such state support, they are financially dependent on their husbands and families, making them more prone to exploitation. A lack of compensation for their work also limits their life choices and decisions for the future, since they rarely have any savings of their own. However, despite this, many people, including feminist thinkers, oppose a salary for homemakers. A common argument is that it is demeaning to put an economic value on the work that women do at home, because there's no possible way to account for all the ways in which their care work contributes to the well-being of their family members. The second main opposition comes from many feminists who see a homemaker's salary as the act of a husband buying domestic labor from his wife and institutionalizing the idea of men as providers and women as caregivers. In addition, there are also practical difficulties in actually calculating an appropriate salary and figuring out who's responsible for paying it. But here's the thing. Research shows that women don't stop doing the invisible caretaking work inside the home even when they start working for wages outside. This means that on average, women end up doing far more unpaid and paid work than men do. In such circumstances, giving a salary for homemakers seems like an ineffective and band-aid solution to address the burden of unpaid care work that falls on women. Feminist macroeconomists instead recommend a holistic 3R approach, recognizing the importance of unpaid care work in the economy, reducing the drudgery and time stress of unpaid work by providing better infrastructural support, and redistributing unpaid care work. We must take this approach to tackle the issue of unpaid care work collectively so we can address it together as a society without it becoming an unequal burden that limits the decisions that women make. That's it for this week's Overthinking It video. And with that, we'd like to let you know that we're putting this series on a bit of a pause as we try out a whole bunch of new and exciting content for this channel. If you have any ideas for what you'd like us to explore, please drop them in the comment section below and do stay tuned for our new drops each week.